Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we will do a feature on Toyota. It's all about cars today. Not my specialty, but I will go into it as much as I can just to let you know what is happening around the world in the automotive industry. But before we begin, please hit that like button for more content and subscribe if you find my topics informative so you will be notified when I drop a new episode. It will only take you 1.5 seconds. A friendly reminder that I may be the only program that takes you beyond the sales department consistently. Others focus specifically on cars, their performances, looks, style, their features, and DIY videos from mechanics. And today's topic is, what if Toyota is right? It's an article from Top Speed and it says Toyota is right on their stance towards electric vehicles. If you've been following my podcast, then you'll remember I also did a feature for Will We Be Ready for the EV Revolution? There are so many things that are impacting the way how we do business in today's society, but also the way how electric vehicle revolution is impacting everyone overall. All the manufacturers to get EVs on the market, but there are so many other factors that are being ignored, and it's all because of our push to reduce carbon emission in our environment. It's all good. We have to look after an environment. We have to look towards the future, ensure that the environment, the world that we leave behind for our children and next generation will definitely benefit from what the world has to offer. However, let me go a little bit into this, and this article was done on December 25th, 2021, actually on Christmas Day. And carbon is our enemy, not the internal combustion engine, says Akio Toyoda. Akio Toyoda, of course, is the man in charge of Toyota, and is the crown prince of that dynasty in Japan. You can also listen to the full article here, but it's over 7 minutes long. I won't go totally into the article itself. However, I won't read all of the article itself, sorry, but however, we will go through the salient points. And I'll begin by saying Toyota Motor Corporation has been slow to adopt electric vehicles, EVs. As a matter of fact, it was only a few weeks ago when the Japanese automaker decided to unveil a plethora of EVs. To make matters even more interesting, Toyota, along with Volkswagen, did not sign the Glasgow Declaration on zero-emission cars and vans, which aims to put an end to fossil fuel cars by 2040. In Canada here, the government announced during the last run-up to the constitutional elections that they want to go full electric vehicles by 2035 thereabout, and do away with the combustion engine so as to reduce our carbon footprint. But you also have to understand that with changes there's also an effect. Okay, so we have to try to put all of our ducks in a row to ensure that everything has a smooth transition. There will be hiccups along the way. We all know that. Nothing is ever transferred from one generation to the next, or no evolution has ever been done smoothly. I'll go through the rest of the article, and it says all of these stories seems to make Toyota an evil corporation with no regard for climate change. Or is it that really the case after all? Isn't that the reason why Toyota pioneered hybrid technology for the masses with the Prius? And of course, yes, they were amongst the first to have the Prius out there, and the Prius is actually still driving around, and it's a very popular car, and it's very convenient, it's very reliable, and it's one of those cars that a lot of people were trying to push, especially celebrities. They were trying to push the way for us to go with the hybrid technology that Toyota itself pride itself on. But the other big manufacturers, they try to push their sports car, their pickup, their trucks, their SUVs and all that. So the Prius got buried under all the noise that was around them. But Toyota was actually the pioneer to push our carbon reduction entity out there. So if Toyota does not care for the planet, then they shouldn't also be the only automaker who is serious about hydrogen technology. What if, for all these times, Toyota is actually right on its stance towards electric vehicles and the global policies support them? And hydrogen technology, it is something that is not looked at. I believe Toyota may be the only manufacturer right now who is serious about hydrogen technology in their vehicles. And to support that, I discovered another article here that says the Toyota Mirai covers 845 miles without refueling and sets a world record. This was actually printed in October 10, 2021 to substantiate the reason why Toyota is actually right there and they're concerned about the economy, but people don't tend to look at the other things that they're doing. I will go a little bit into this article, and it says, over the years, many have taken on the one tank record. Most of the time, it's with a car powered by an internal combustion engine. However, there is one record that hasn't been tapped yet. It's a record for the longest distance by a hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle without refueling. Leave it to Toyota to go straight for that open goal. Toyota is, of course, still pushing their hydrogen initiative, and they're still very vocal about it. Obviously, the car they chose for this record attempt is none other than the recently redesigned Mirai. It was driven Wayne Gerdes with Bob Winger as his co-pilot. And here it is, the Guinness Book of World Record official attempt on the Toyota Mirai itself, powered by hydrogen. So they have all the information there to substantiate that they are serious about reducing their carbon footprint. So let's just clear a few things out of the way. I don't dislike EVs. If it weren't for Tesla, I would have viewed EVs to be uncool. But here's the thing, I agree with Toyota on their strategy to solve climate change. I don't think EVs are the only solution to climate change, at least with how the world currently works. And I also agree with them here. Agree with this article, the writer of this article. We cannot all put our trust and loyalty into electric vehicles. There has to be alternatives. There must be other alternatives. As though we have diesel cars and we have fuel cars and then we have large and small cars, trucks, SUVs, tractors, trailers. There are so many other things that we're supposed to have choices for. Let me go some more. Some countries like Norway, whose adoption of plug-in vehicle is nearly 90% according to Clean Technica, are a perfect place for EVs. After all, their power generation mostly comes from renewable energy. In Asia, however, a lot of countries are still dependent on fossil fuels for power generation, with China being the biggest offender despite being one of the largest markets for EVs. This particular article goes into statistics and data explaining why it is important to look at other means otherwise from EVs. Researchers from the University of Minnesota were able to determine that despite having a large number of EVs on the road, its power generating plants emit plenty of harmful particulate matter. Yes, EVs were able to reduce local pollution on street level, but far and away from cities are China's power plants. 85% of China's electricity production is from fossil fuels, in which about 90% of that is from coal. The researchers also discovered that the power generated in China to operate electric vehicles emit the fine particles at a much higher rate than gasoline vehicles, albeit at a distance much further from the citizens themselves. So we're not immune from EVs and the way how electricity is powered into the atmosphere. There is always a cause and an effect. But I won't go far too much into this article. Here are statistics here. GHG reduction by target, the EU 55% reduction by 2030, United States 50 to 52% reduction by 2030. 50% of new vehicle sales to be ZEVs and PHEVs by 2030 versus 2005 when it was mostly carbon combustion engines. However, the Japanese government has determined various targets, likely with the upcoming COP26 in mind. But first of all, it is just targets that they show us. And second of all, the targets seem to be based on how policies are discussed in Europe, not on the particular situation in Japan. So what they're saying is they discuss their carbon emission and their policies and everything in Europe, but they're not looking at the world standard itself, because different countries have different ways of how the plants are situated away from the cities. Even though major cities will be pushing to have a lot of electric cars in and around, because it is mostly densely populated. However, to have factories emitting fossil fuels out into the countryside, it may not have such a large impact on the people living there. I will also go into is that there are the other factors I wanted to discuss. about EVs, and I've discussed it in one of my videos entitled "Will We Be Ready for the EV Revolution?" I'll also leave the link to that video in the description box below, because we have to understand that some of the factors that will be affected are, will mechanics be ready for the number of EVs coming out? Okay, will there be a viable used car market? I also spoke about that, because myself would love to own an electric car right now. However, the affordability is just not there for me. And this article also says to it, and it says, according to Compare the Market, an affordable Nissan Leaf, for instance, costs just $27,400 in the United States, a high-income country according to World Population Review, which means there's a higher percentage of their population that can afford EVs. On the other hand, in middle-income countries like the Philippines or Thailand, the Nissan Leaf costs upwards of $55,235. Suddenly, forcing people from these countries to switch to an expensive EV by regulation is downright unacceptable, especially to those whose businesses and livelihoods depend on automobile. I said this long before this article even came out. Another thing you have to also look at, I came across other factors such as gas stations. Gas stations will be abandoned because it will take millions of dollars to decommission them, meaning that if there's going to be a reduction in combustion engine, then there's going to be less fuel to be sold, and already a lot of fuel stations are feeling the crunch. As a matter of fact, I am going to do a episode on how the electric vehicle revolution has been affecting fuel station. And you have to remember also, with fuel gas stations going under, the supply chain is also going to be affected, as most gas stations are also convenience stores and act as mini supermarkets. So imagine a big part of that industry being wiped out. You can go there, you can get groceries, you can get fluids, you can get miscellaneous items, so many things you can get into a gas station right now. You can buy a lottery, you can do so many other things, right? And then truckers come there, other manufacturers, they supply their items to the various gas stations in and around. So we're gonna have to come up with ingenious ways to keep the economy going. That's a big part of the profits there and the sales being wiped out over time just by pushing electric vehicles. But it is what it is at this point in time. We have to make a choice. Everything has a cause and effect. So I'm just going to leave it there. The link to this article will be in the description, of course. And what do you think? Let me know. Did you find this topic interesting? I hope it was informative as was entertaining. Well, you can leave your comments below. Again, please remember to hit that like button on your way out. It will only take 1.5 seconds. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, please remember to do so. Until next time.